Okay, now it should work. Yeah, okay. Okay, it was that thing. Okay, so sometimes when I update my microphone, it it just like removes it from stream elements, which is great. I love how it does that. And then like the only way I could tell is if I happen to be looking at the audio mixer that has the thing, but I already have a lot of things going on my screen. So thank you for letting me know. That would have been pretty embarrassing if I'd continued. Anyway, so yeah. Right. Um, happy Monday. Happy middle of March. Oh my god, I can't believe it's already the middle of March. Uh, yeah, my head's all over the place. I still got a lot of stuff going on, so we'll see how it goes. Might be another short stream. We might go until we finish the game if I'm close, or we'll just kind of play it by ear today. That's the plan, basically. So, yes, sometimes update, nothing is fixed. Yep. I thought I had to update though because I was having an issue with the mic, and then it turns out that the problem was me. But I still updated. It's not like bad to update. It's just I updates have a tendency to break things, at least for me. I'm like unlucky with updates. So I forget what else I was going to say. Just that it's everywhere. Hi Kira, good to see you. How's life? How's the universe? How's everything? How's ADK? March? It's spring. It's still springing out there. It's raining today, which is pretty cool because like all the stuff falling from the sky before was snow. Now it's the rain. That's pretty neat. I see some flowers outside in some places. Some green starting to happen. It's nice. Ooh, sending stuff out to conferences. That's actually really exciting. That must be like honestly like super nerve-wracking. Oh, I have a question. Is it like because like the thing is if they accept it then you have to actually go and present, so like do you simultaneously want them to accept it but also kind of don't want them to accept it so you don't have to do the thing? I'm just wondering because I feel like that's how I would feel. Flowers are mechanical spies. Oh no, flowers are chill. Flowers are chill. I like flowers. Okay. Rejected would be okay. So you more want it than not want it. That's a good thing then. That's a very good thing. Especially because like if you need it as a stepping stone to something else, then I totally understand. I wish you all the luck with that then. Like fingers crossed, real hard. Hello, Algul. Good to see you. Ooh, someone's name. Yeah, I remember you mentioned this one before. It sounds really interesting. Right. I don't remember if I read this out loud on the mic now, so now I have to do it again. They reached Cafe La Tresse without incident, and Minorikawa promptly spotted the publisher. Over here, Toyama hissed, eyeing his surroundings with obvious unease. Hana sat by his side, sullenly sipping on some juice. The waitress came over as Minorikawa joined them. May I take your order? She asked. Water. Just water, sir? Fine, make it a double. Double water. Exasperated, the waitress headed back to the kitchen. Toyama looked over at Katayama. Who's this guy? I'm Koichiro, Katayama from Cho Nippon Printing. Katayama presented his business card. Toyama turned to Minorikawa with a quizzical look. What's someone from the printer doing with you? I'll explain later. There's no time for that right now. I love Chiaki's laptop so much. I have never in my entire life seen lace on a laptop, but oh my god, what a vibe. That's kind of fantastic. That gives me an idea. I don't want lace on my laptop, but I kind of want like a lacy sticker. I think that could be really cool. Could be neat. But I love it. First, I need to answer some questions. Does the name Kenji Osawa ring any bells? Osawa. Tama closed his eyes and thought. He heads up a laboratory at Okoshi Pharmaceutical. You ran a piece on him in the first ever issue of the 4-star General Gossip. Like it. I wonder. I mean, she might have come up with the idea for the character. She seems like the kind of person who would get really into her character, honestly. She might have come up with the idea. Gemma's face lit up with recognition. Ah, yes, that political marriage piece. Yeah, that one. Do you remember the details from the article? Of course. What do you think I am? Oh my gosh, I can't stop yawning. Gemma puffed himself up proudly. I used to be a local news copy editor from the Central Times. I've got the details for all the stuff I've ever covered here in my head. In that case, do you know who Kenji Osawa's wife was dating before they got married? Gemma blinked his eyes vacantly. Hey, what's the matter, Minokawa? This is a pretty tough pop quiz you're giving me. Surprise, kids! It's time for a science quiz. What colorless, odorless gas, lighter than air, and used for consumer and municipal gas applications is also known as marsh gas or swamp gas? Helium, ethylene, propane, or methane? I think it... No, it's not odorless. Methane's not odorless. Propane, I thought, has... Like, doesn't methane stink, though? Isn't methane stinky? They add the odor to methane? I thought methane is what, like... Really? Tune in next time for the answer. Might be propane. It might be propane. Right? Because I thought, like, methane was specifically stinky. But I do not know. Well, we're gonna find out next time. That the crap, man. You just said you have all the details inside your head. Oh, they're in there all right. They're just not coming out. Norikawa slumped. Mr. Toyama, please. Whether or not you'll be able to pay off your debts depends on your memory here. Hearing this, Hana cast a cold glare up at her father. Alright, I can remember, or I can at least try. Toyama folded his arms and hummed to himself, his gaze turned inward. So, I feel like it was a really common name. Sato, Jackie chirped. Yamada. Was either of those. They're pretty common names. Toyama shook his head. Norikawa offered a guess of his own. Tanaka. Yes. No, not that. It was something else. Really? What? Just then, the television inside the cafe switched over the news report on the Shibuya explosion. The remains of the individual discovered within the minivan itself who has since been identified as pharmaceutical company executive Mamoto Tanaka. Mamoto Tanaka? Toyama turned around to look at the TV. An image of the victim's face appeared on the screen. What? The publisher lawyer, nearly falling out of his seat. That's him! That was him! Right there! We knew this one. We knew it. Yo, he was hiding in some random park. I do not remember the name. That's what I said, Tanaka. Toyama pointed excitedly at the TV screen. That's who Kenji Osawa's wife was dating before they got married, Mamoto Tanaka. Norikawa felt himself getting goosebumps. The victim of the terrorist bombing in Shibuya was also linked to the researcher who was key to a terrorist viral scare. His reporter's hunch was now a certainty. Right now, Shibuya was at the center of some massive conspiracy. This went far beyond even a major scoop. Hey, Vishib! Hello, how are you doing, V? Mr. Toyama, we need to make sure that next month's issue hits shelves. This is Shibuya Scramble, and we are very close to the end, I would say. So basically, a lot of stuff has happened. It's a really, really interesting game. It is a visual novel where, like, you're dealing with the timelines of multiple people all at once and how they connect to each other. Like, for example, jumping to another person to unlock more of the story and then making choices to actually get to the end. Basically, for each hour, you have to get each character to the end of the hour so that you can move to the next hour together. Osawa's phone rang, and Minorikawa's phone number popped up on the LCD display. The reporter must have finished looking into the matter Osawa had asked about. Mr. Osawa? Sorry to keep you waiting. How'd it go? Well, I looked into the background of that story you asked about, and I learned who it was your wife was dating. Who was it? Osawa asked immediately. There was a brief pause. Mamoto Tanaka. I see. Finally, he had proof positive of a relationship between I and Tanaka. Now more than ever, it was no time to waver. No matter how painful the reality was, it was also true that if they hadn't been dating, there would probably be no way of saving Maria. So, Minorikawa said, what was this big thing about disrupting the power balance of the world all about? There's something I need to take care of on my end first. Once I'm finished, I'll tell you everything. Yeah, that's fine. Things are pretty hectic on my end right now anyway. Osawa had expected Minorikawa to put up more of a fight. You'd figure a reporter for the 4-star General Gossip would be a bit more persistent. Oh, by the way, there was one other thing I wanted to tell you, Mr. Osawa. Osawa could practically sense the finger pointing his way from the other end of the line. Don't be too angry with your wife. All too often in this world, people let their anger get in the way of solving their problems. You may have a point, Osawa let out a wry chuckle. All right then, I'll call you back later. Osawa found Ai standing by herself in the yard. She kept her back to him as he approached. Blah, blah, blah. My ability to read today is going to be a little interesting. Okay, lots happen. Oh, I mean, listen, if you're anything you would like to share or not like to share, you are welcome to just hang out if you'd like, and it'll always be just like how it's been. Or you can, oh yeah, not to be mistaken for AI. Correct. Though we don't know, she could be a robot. I mean, I feel like there's probably a bad end where she like randomly is a robot though. Like they do a lot of really funny bad ends here. Oh, this picture is great. They also seriously like I'll tell you, like having not have tuned into this, like I know this is a game literally based on photos, but they take just the best photos and it's phenomenal. Some good news yesterday. A few bits. New job opened up that is right up my alley. Oh my gosh, fingers super, super, super crossed for you. One of my lost mail packages in the post was found like 12 days after it was lost and is actually getting. Yay! Oh my gosh, that's okay. That's two good newses. That's very good news. Okay, yeah, seriously, super duper fingers crossed because like there is nothing better than someone, being able to do a thing so that like they'd actually feel like they'd be good at. It's cool. Yeah, I have a package that was shipped to me from the US in August. In case you're wondering, I have not gotten it yet, nor have I gotten any information about it. And so there's pretty much literally nothing I can do about the existence or non existence of this package. Maybe it will show up one day, but probably not. That's funny because like I do remember I had a package shipped to me when I lived in the US from Poland and like it didn't arrive there until I like moved away. So I have no idea. It's possible it'll show up one day. It'll possible to show up one day when I don't even live here at this place anymore. Literally no idea. Yeah. There goes in here. Ah. Aha, understood. Understood. Okie dokie. All right. Gosh, these flowers are really pretty. I wonder, like, do you think he has? No, he probably does have gardening people. I feel like she's not the one doing it. So I found Ai standing by herself in the yard. She kept her back to him as he approached. May I have a moment? He asked quietly. What? Still, she didn't bother to turn around. There's something important I need to talk to you about. I'm not in the mood right now. Please, I realize you're upset about Tanaka's death, but at the mention of Tanaka's name, Ai slowly shook her head. Don't. Just tell me what you want. Hurry up and get to the point. Usawa tried to move closer to her, but she pointedly kept her distance. I mean, I know he knows. I just don't know which is the right one. Probably like, you know what? Let's talk to her feelings. Let's see if we can get her to have feelings about him. But I feel like she won't trust him because he's really bad at the things. Like, understanding or attempting to understand other people and a lot of doing what he's told that he's supposed to be doing. So, like, while, you feel for him, there are certain things that are quite unforgivable. Honestly, that's totally understandable, V. Like, if that's something that y'all been dealing with, then it's I've known, I guess it's funny to say it like this, multiple people, multiple systems at this point. And so like it's I imagine that is a whole thing to kind of deal with. And it's not I feel like it's not I don't know how to phrase it. my brain's not good at the words right now. It's not like wholly like a bad thing, but it's definitely a hard thing, you know? Like I think people assume that like realizing that is bad, but like if it's something you're realizing, it's something that you already have been dealing with. So the realization is actually a good thing to be able to like not even like do something about it, but not even in a like solve sort of way, but in a understanding to understand it. Okay, let's just put it that way. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like I imagine it has to be all of everything. It has to be yes. The recognition is necessary to be able to even have appreciation for it and to not just have it be what even is what is wrong with me. It's really just like it's just being different. And there's some interesting positives to it, I think, as well. But I wouldn't know. I I'm not a system. I got the like even though I'll be honest, the concept of identity is still a bit strange to me, and it took me a long time to figure out identity, like my own identity, and like how that worked, and like this feeling of like feeling. For me, it was really just I felt very much like a chameleon growing up. So like I felt like I acted like a different person, but it was all continuous. It just felt like different aspects in this way. So it was the case of like, yes, actually, the reason why I'm a jellycat is because of this feeling of being a shapeshifter. And that's actually something that changed over time as I don't know, as I like came to understand myself and came to accept more parts of myself and was able to thus see myself as a whole. As in this case, I like in more of a singular way and sort of like that was how it was for me. But I recognize it's not the same thing, but in that I can understand the sensate. I can understand what it feels like to not have, let's say, to not have a singular identity. That's that's as far as that goes for me. But it's still something. Social butterfly, less butterfly. That's the weird thing. So like it's part of this thing where like I thought I was an introvert for so long, but then like when I hung around people, it was like actually in some cases it was really easy for me to find myself being the social butterfly and I actually had a lot of problems with dissociation. Um Especially by the time I got to college. I dissociated really, really, really hard, and then I figured out I had ADHD, which actually allowed me to start understanding and accepting myself. But it was also a lot of like CPTSD type trauma of like a growing up and not being accepted or noticed. A lot of emotional neglect in my childhood. So it manifests in very interesting ways, and the dissociation aspect of that is the one I'm still familiar with, and it's something I still deal with. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, masks are definitely a common thing that people experience and people deal with. Like no one shows their full true self and all these situations, but when you feel also like you're not fully in control of who you are around other people, it's like there's a mask and then there's something that you feel like you are whether or not you want to be. And some people wear masks because they feel like they have to. Some people feel like the masks wear them, and some people just choose to present themselves a certain way. And that is now something that like I recognize it more as like I for me it's like I can role play and choose to take parts of myself and emphasize them or de-emphasize them. And actually like role play was one of the things that sort of helps me figure out like what it is to be a person. So but yeah, really like I said, The only comparison I'm making is just this is as far as I am probably able to empathize, and I always like to try to empathize. But I fully understand it's not the same thing. I completely understand this. Yeah. Phasing the social comedian. Oh, really? I didn't know we were phasing out social chameleon. Especially because like my association with the word social chameleon is actually, at least from the most recent time I was using it, was actually a negative one. Not for myself, but for the other people who were doing it maliciously. Just the phrase itself. But I've also used it both ways. It's just like the last time I was using it, as I felt it evolved, I felt it was gaining a negative context. But if it's like just being phased out, then yes. Also, yeah, because chameleons' color change based on their emotions. Yeah, most people masked, yeah, don't have distinct gender. Yes. Yes. Oh, that's a. Mhm. No, that's definitely that's a really good point for the difference. Actually, thank you for this food for thought also. Just like as I said, I've definitely I have friends who are systems, but like, you know, it's all a case of just like it's so it's really hard to wrap your head around it if you're not also experiencing it type of thing. Like way more so than usual, I would say. Than like a lot of I think there's a lot of like things you can kind of imagine like, oh, like for like I think it's really easy for some people to be able to imagine like, oh, what if I liked people of a different gender or the same gender? It's like you like people, right? Like you can wrap your head around the concept. Wrapping your head around the concept of what it means to be yourself kind of also means understanding what it is to be conscious, which is one of those things you can think about like a lot and never actually really solve. And especially if you don't take a lot of time to like sit and self-reflect on who you are as a person, like even that, I think a lot of people don't know who they are like at all. So honestly, I feel like systems have to like for a system, you have to each each part of you, you have to figure out what you are and who you are and how you are. And that must be no, it's definitely got to be hard, but also interesting and in some ways more freeing when you can understand for each aspect piece or every like plurality system ever calls them their their pieces differently. Yeah. Okay, let's go with the second one for Osawa. Let's see. Let's make him say it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? We go back in time. There was something Osawa needed to hear for himself before this went any further. Were you in love with Tanaka? What are you talking about? Osawa frowned. Why did you marry me? He asked. You've got to be kidding. This is the important discussion you wanted to have? Did you ever love me? I let out a joyless chuckle. Love? I'm amazed to even hear the word leave your lips. There was a note of challenge in her voice. Let me ask you the same question. Did you ever love me? To be honest, I married you because I thought my daughters needed a mother. Wow. I let out a weary sigh. Some of the combative tension left her shoulders. That really is honest. So I guess I should be honest too. I married you because my father asked me to. He wanted to chain you down so you didn't leave for some other company. You're okay with marrying someone for something like that? For something like that? You really have no idea how much you're worth, do you? The value of one woman's life versus the potential profits your research would bring in? Oof. Oh, feels bad for I. Yes, everyone who plays this game would ask the question, why would I? But we knew. As soon as we saw the political marriage thing, we knew it was 100% seconds. Yeah. No, it's, yeah. We're not good at handling mental health in general, like as a society and as media. Oh, that's so much worse. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people get their ideas of like how any of this stuff works or their first exposure to anything like it. And it's just, whoops, uh-oh. Yeah. No, we like, we're not even good at understanding bodies. You think we'd be able to understand brains, but no, no, no. Some people are definitely convinced of some stuff, and that's the worst. It's the worst when some people are completely convinced that the things that they understand about the brain are definitely the brain. That is how it works, right? So there's some tulpa stuff. Oh yeah, tulpas are okay. I read like I think like a lot of years ago I was reading about like the Reddit about it and how like people can create tulpas and stuff. It was really interesting. And it's just like another thing of like what the mind is capable of doing. Like we do not understand it. We do not understand the things that the mind is capable of. It's like meat with electricity running through it. Sometimes we can like do math and make games. Sometimes we experience games and like we take these experiences of other people transformed, distilled, reorganized into the form of media to then reinterpret them into our own life and circumstances based on our own experiences and understanding of the world. There's Lila. Oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, no, media is really, really important. Yeah, people 100%. Media is like media is basically the first way people are able to put themselves in someone else's shoes, like really, really, like into a completely different circumstance that they could possibly imagine by like transmitting all of this feeling and like a full story of what it's like to experience something that is different and unique. And to do that, you also have to add hyperbole and you also have to do this and that, and it's tough. Villains are tragic people barred from happiness, which just like no, honestly, I completely agree with that, Algo. Like literally, it's just like if we could have focused on just like accurately representing things without making it a thing. No, but the problem is that the executives, especially because we're still so we're honestly most executives are still like average nepo baby white man. Like I know, but it's like that's still the case. Like they're still controlling too much of the world because there just haven't even been close to enough generations for things to really, really change. And the thing is, all they see is dollar signs and, oh, well, if people want this thing, I better advertise that it's a thing. And how will they know it's a thing? Well, I don't understand it, therefore it has to be in my face. Yeah. Nor things deserve any propaganda. That's a sentence I'm gonna quote you on later. I just wish, like, okay. I just wish that it wouldn't become advertised. I just wish that people's lives wouldn't become advertising buzzwords. I guess that's really it. It's just I kind of just hate capitalism. There's no comparing the two. If it meant that Okoshi Pharmaceuticals could monopolize your talents, then what did it even matter what I wanted for myself? There was something akin to desperation in Ai's words. And so you sent me these threatening emails too? What? I looked at him in shock. He knew he'd guessed correctly. You would go that far just to keep me tied to your father's business? That's right, I would. I bit down her lip hard. But what would you even know about how I feel? I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I shook her head vehemently. I'm not the victim here. You say that, but isn't it because of me that you and Tanaka weren't able to stay together? I began to tremble. Her secret was out. When did you figure it out? She asked. Earlier today. A tie clip. Right. The sort of gift one gives to one's husband's worker, is it? Even if it was a listening device. I's smile was bitter with self-depreciation. Sawa couldn't help but pity her. Even Tanaka must have suspected that she placed the company's profits above all else if she'd go to such lengths to protect its interests. It was like she'd given up her entire life just for that. Well, she said, aren't you angry? Sawa shook his head. She told me just one thing, though, he asked. Did Tanaka ever tell you what his lab password was? His password? I needed to get the antivirus out of his lab. I flinched at the suggestion. To get it out? What are you thinking? It belongs to the company. I just need one dose to save my life. If you know, please tell me. I don't know it. I's voice was barely a whisper. Sawa looked at his wife right in the eye. You're telling the truth. I am. I see. Then, do you have any idea what number he might have used for a password? I shook her head silently, then turned her back to her husband once more. Tanaka hadn't given I his password. Sawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long, shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Is it true? Is there nothing more he could do? Propaganda is a deliberately pro-something message. Propaganda doesn't need to be fake news or Orwellian. In Portuguese, it often used as a term for advertisements. Anything that is deliberately to convince a demographic. That also makes sense. I mean, the distinction is language-based, societal-based, etc. Like, 100%. Social propaganda and advertisements. I guess the only, and like, you know, other social, PSAs. I guess the only difference there is the goal, like what the purpose of it is. The purpose of advertisements in my head is just, you know, so that someone makes money. Someone wants money. And the others, I feel like they have a different purpose. And I guess that's what makes it important. Like, propaganda, and for me, is just like to make people feel a certain way and take action in some fashion, or to not take certain actions. It's mostly it's a call to action that's meant to be like logical or moral or whatever, whereas like the PSAs are literally just social actions and like, hey, maybe be careful about stuff, maybe you should know about this thing that is scary that you should not do. You should not drink and drive. It's like, I really wish we didn't need PSAs about not drinking and driving. I really, really wish we didn't need that. But I would not be able to call out an advertisement. And I wouldn't be able to call it propaganda either. I guess it makes sense in English we have the distinction here based on that. So when you start the game married, your wife is a quite important part of your team. That is actually really awesome, because it is important to have a team. Osawa further. Still have to get Minorikawa further. He's like connected to everyone now. Confetti cannon! I actually love the confetti cannon next to this delicious looking drink here. The man didn't seem terribly surprised. Probably he had his suspicions all along. Osawa told him there was something he needed to do before he was ready to give details on the big scoop, but they would call back later. In the meantime, Minorikawa knew he'd have his hands full getting the current issue of the gossip wrapped up for the 7 o'clock deadline. It actually is. This is great for Gunodi. He slapped his hands down on the table. All right, emergency editing meeting right here, right now, you know. Need to get a lead on the Shibuya terrorist bombing in the next issue. The article about the twins winning the beauty contest can be dropped for that. We'll use the info from Kenji Osawa as the basis for our big scoop in the issue after that. Mr. Toyama, any problems with that? No, that should be fine. But what about the remaining pages for next month's issue? Yorikawa opened the file on his computer. The layout built in the DDP came up on the monitor. The report on the Burning Hammer sales demo. The surveillance camera opinion piece. The interview with Ori. Those were finished, and the copy already incorporated into the layout. Once Chiaki's street interview piece was loaded in, that one could be checked off as well. Chiaki, how's your copy coming along? Sorry, I just need a little longer. The writing seemed to be still giving her a fair bit of trouble. The article on SOS was still just a placeholder in the layout. I mean, Yorikawa hadn't gotten any material for that, putting it even further behind the Chiaki street interviews. Still, he'd at least learned where Shibuya's legendary street gang made their hangout. He'd just have to take the risk of dropping in on them unannounced to ambush them with some interview questions. Yeah, it's very Minorikawa right now, which is a shame. Broccoli man, no more broccoli man. And then there was the lead-in for Shibuya bombing. That wasn't even in the layout yet. It was a completely blank slate. Against all odds, they were gonna need to put that article together from nothing with just an hour and change. It was an impossible amount of work for just him to do. Well, and how are things coming along? Katayama rose and came closer, trying to peer at the monitor. Minorikawa hurried to cover the screen. Don't look. If the printer rep saw the blank pages, he might decide to stop waiting. Would you mind telling me roughly what % of the total you've completed thus far? What %? Come off it, man. We're at 100%. If you're 100% done, that implies you're all finished. Could I please have the data then? No. I'm saying our willpower is at 100%. I'm not even gonna pretend I understand what you mean. Shaking his head, Katayama sat back down in his chair. Yorikawa, TMS, his expression uneasy. So I know I asked before, but why is someone from the printer here again? Katayama promptly chimed in. The long and short of it is that your proofing deadline has been changed to 7 o'clock. What? That's impossible. Who's doing the lead-in for Shibuya bombing? Katayama eyed Minorikawa, then Chiaki. Both stared back non-committally. It really is impossible. We'll never meet that deadline. We don't have enough people. No, we do have enough. Minorikawa thrust out his finger. Mr. Toyama, you're gonna write that one and handle the layout. What? Heaven Publishing is your company. Would you step up in order to protect it? Toyama hung his head. Even if I headed to the scene right now, I'm sure the other outlets have already gotten their coverage. Wouldn't be able to find anything new to write about. Oh. He just punches him! Oh my god. Whenever there's a video, you know something about to go down. So you're just gonna give up? A moment later, Toyama was on the floor, Minorikawa glaring down at him. You've always said you wanted to tell the world about the things the mass media can't or won't write about. What the hell difference does it make if they've already gotten to the sound bites thereafter? Minorikawa's voice was raw with emotion. Don't you dare give up, not that easily. Get your ass out there, find something that only you can write about. Toyama began to object, and he glanced over at Hana. There was an imploring look in her eyes as well. I get what you're saying, Toyama grumbled. But still, you're expecting a lot. And despite his words, he flashed a broad grin. Yeah. Minorikawa let out a quiet chuckle. Got you all fired up. I am fired up, all right. Toyama's face shone with a resolve Minorikawa hadn't seen in a long time. There we go. That's the Toyama I know. You know, I'm really sorry. Now I see the huge burden I put on you. But damn it, it's gonna be all right. Getting to his feet, Toyama took his daughter by the hand and strode boldly out of the cafe, looking like a changed man. Minorikawa watched them go, glad to see that dithering was over. He's very... You can see the red on his face, and that's about it. Even if Toyama were still in his prime, he'd be cutting it close to do that article in an hour. He would pull through somehow. When it came to taking care of Hana, the man would rise to the occasion again and again. Father and daughter disappeared into the crowd, hand in hand. Morikawa shook himself out of his reverie. All right, he cried. Despite the clear blue sky, an unexpected gust of wind blew across his cheek. Come on, guys, we gotta get going, too. Things might look grim, but he wasn't going to give up until the bitter end. It was Time to head to the SOS Hangout, Inferno. The three ran long and hard after leaving the cafe. If the proofing deadline was 7 o'clock, they needed to finish up with SOS by 6:30 at the latest. The hideout was in Uraharajuku. Running all the way there on foot was going to eat into too much of their time. Traffic was at a near standstill for some reason, and there wasn't a taxi in sight. How long do you plan on running like this? Kariyama called out, panting. Just take a look at the road. With this traffic, there's no point in hailing a cab. Yorikawa was feeling the time pressure now. We're just gonna have to keep running until the road's clear. What? Kariyama wailed. Stop your whining. Just keep quiet and stick with me. He'd finally gotten Toyama to find his willpower again. Next month's issue would come out on time, and no way some printer guy's gonna mess that up now. Traffic showed no signs of abating. Catching a cab wasn't going to be an option. Fighting an ever louder echo of despair, Minorikawa kept his desperate headlong rush. To rush into a situation recklessly or heedlessly, not the same as being a daredevil. Still, there were limits to how far the mind could push the body before exhaustion set in. Eek. Oh, the laptop. As they were running across the pedestrian overpass, Jackie slipped and took a nasty fall. She skinned her knee hard enough to draw blood. Hey you, Miyorikawa snapped at Kariyama. Don't just stand there. Help the poor girl up already. Kariyama scurried over Chiaki. Sorry, Mr. Mino. Hi. Jackie's voice bubbled with suppressed tears. Maybe it was cruel to make her run with her computer all the way to Uraharajuku. Ooh. Thank you so much, Contemplar. Much appreciated. The copy for her interview still needed to be looked over. It's like red paint on her. Yeah, running with computers is not really ever a good idea. That's also what backpacks are for. I couldn't just leave her here. Yorikawa hesitated, undecided. Even at a full run, they wouldn't make it in time. And with traffic the way it was, there was nothing they could do. Awesome. I mean, listen, thanks so much. I really, really appreciate it. Like, if you're just hanging out to appreciate Shibuya Scramble, then I also appreciate it because this game is awesome, and definitely you should run away as soon as possible then, because we are very close to the end of this game, and you do not want any spoilers for yourself because it is worth it to play as blind as possible. But thanks again. We now have... Kariyama consulted his pocket watch. Exactly 1 hour remaining. Damn it. Yorikawa raged. What do we do? Relentlessly, the clock ticked. Okay, yep. Boot, scoot, and boogie. Skedaddle on out of here, but thank you for the flyby. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, too. Relentlessly, the clock ticked on. Be continued. Okay, but then like... Wait, but then how do we get these other keep-outs fixed? Another... Locked. What is locked? I'm aware that we're keep out. How? Okay, but like for real, how are we supposed to... We don't have any other jumps. How are we supposed to get past the keep out? I have no idea. Like, I can't think of anything else that would... Unless something can lock someone out on their own, is all I can think of. But, like, just kind of stuff. The only other jump we have is a jump that we can't use. And things from the previous hour, which also are not helpful. Only things within the same hour. But lock, do I need any of these? Is the thing. Like, I have Kano at 1735. I have Achi. I feel like Achi's is probably the most important one to unlock because I can't even use the other jump to unlock something else from later in Achi's timeline because this one's too early. Osawa is also at a keep out. Minorikawa is at a 2B continue. So, like, all of that, like, Minorikawa seems like he's good. But it's just a case of, like, I don't know how to get out of Osawa, but I feel like Achi is probably the first step to actually be able to do that because we can't jump to Achi. Yeah. So I would appreciate assistance with this because the problem is there's too many variables. Well, manga lately. Ooh, manga. So you want me to click on the link? Yeah. Actually. Well, at least we can try some of this stuff. It's not bad. Just End Electronics is right up ahead. Okay, let's see this game. Same location, so I guess what did that actually mean? I kind of hadn't figured that out. Okay, but then like we're still at the keep out. Okay. So let's go to Achi. Okay, let's confront his father as soon as possible, maybe. Maybe it'll make him get there faster. His father was wrong. Even if he was asking to save Susan, he's absolutely wrong. A crime is a crime, regardless of who's doing it. This was a crime his father needed to atone for. If he resisted, Achi would take him down, even if he had to use his fists. Even if I have to use my fists. Okay. I feel like this is one we've seen before. So I feel like this is the same. Okay, we can't. Oh, now we can. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you still have to keep out. Choices. Yeah. Oh. Have to pick another random name to be able to get the jump. Oh my, I never would have figured that out. That like you could just pick random names. Okay. I wouldn't have figured that out, ever. Okay. The workroom door slowly eased open. Achi was too shocked for words. The girl who entered looked just like Hitomi. Maria. Hitomi. Achi blinked in bewilderment. It was almost as if Hitomi were standing in front of a mirror. The two girls looked so similar. Maria, thank goodness you're all right. So sorry I had you worried. Maria was safe, Achi realized. At last, he'd managed to fulfill his duty. How did you manage to get out of the storeroom? Daisuke had gone pale. Tell me, Maria said sharply. Who was it who came up with this kidnapping plan? Suddenly, Daisuke shoved Maria aside and lunged for Hitomi. Stanley moved to stop him, but before he could intervene, the older man had a hold on Hitomi, pressing something that looked like a flashlight up against her neck. Dad? Achi started towards him, but Stanley held out a hand. Don't move, that's a stun gun. A piece of self-defense equivalent for repelling would-be attackers with electrical shock. There are several types, including baton-type stun prods and guns that fire needles attached to flexible wires. The latter type, especially, is frequently referred to in the US as a taser or taser gun, due to the popular models produced by Taser International, now Axon. Stun guns are now not only used by civilians, but also by law enforcement and military personnel for non-lethal applications. If he zaps her in the neck, it could kill her. You know your stuff, Daisuke said. You deal in American electronics? No, I do this for a living. Stanley drew his gun in an instant, taking aim at Daisuke's forehead. Wait, hold on. I mean, we should probably not let him shoot him. Achi interposed himself between Stanley and his father. Dad, let Hitomi go. You need to stop this nonsense. Achi walked slowly towards his father, a pleading look in his eyes. Nonsense? Which one of us is talking nonsense here? You don't know what's going on. If you knew everything, you'd be helping me. What do you mean, everything? With this girl's heart, we could save Suzune. Dad, who was it exactly that told you that? Daisuke did not reply. I asked you a question. Who was it that put this crazy idea into your head? Foreign organ trafficker I met at the hospital. You know, the most trustworthy of people. The random organ traffickers, obviously. Like, if you knew everything, you know, I was talking to this one crazy guy at the hotel, like at the hospital. You know, he said, in Japan, a medical profession known as a transplant coordinator handles the liaison between the donor and recipient parties. Right, better source in his head than a YouTube video. I did my own research. I've been talking to organ traffickers. They're definitely 100% reliable. But there are many cases of illegal or borderline illegal activity carried out by third-party organ brokers. There are countries where organ transplants are openly performed for monetary gain and no shortage of specialists willing to do the job. These questionable markets include suppliers who source viable organs and tissue for transplant for cadavers. Stanley let out a snort. A likely story. It's true, I was suspicious at first myself. At first? Not for long enough, apparently. Daisuke said suddenly, but I couldn't just sit around and wait for Suzune to die. And after talking to him about her rare blood type and all the difficulties in performing a transplant, he promised he'd do everything in his power. Daisuke's hands were trembling. Tears welled up in his vacant and bloodshot eyes. Then a while later, he got back in touch and told me he'd found a potential match, someone with the same blood type as Suzune and roughly the same age. Then he told me the girl was still alive. So what was the point? Her heart might be a match for Suzune's, but it didn't matter if we couldn't get our hands on it. And I said that, but the man told me. He told you what? Achi bit his lip. He told me to abduct her and turn her over to him. After that, he'd find a way to make it all work. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this man had crazy pants. At last, Daisuke had confessed. Now Achi just had to try to come to grips with the truth he'd just heard. Had to do something, his father continued vehemently. Had to abduct this girl and see things through. I just couldn't take it. Kodane had already been taken from me. The thought of losing Suzune, too. I had to make sure I didn't fail. Yeah, a lot of safety stuff. There's a helicopters. Yeah, there's a lot. You're trained in organ transplant. Whoa. That's really cool. That's still really cool, though. So it was this organ trafficker who came up with the kidnapping scheme then? He said he kept his gun aimed at his target. Daisuke nodded. Describe him for me. He was tall, had black hair, spoke fluent Japanese. Stanley raised an eyebrow at that. Achi wondered if he had some idea who it might be. In taking Maria Osawa hostage in order to lure out Hitomi, that was his idea as well. Yeah, that's right. I allowed his computer to access my surveillance camera system as well. But then this morning I got a call from the hospital saying Suzune's condition was critical. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to help my girl right away. And then Daisuke cut himself off, reaffirming his grip on the stun gun. I was looking at the surveillance monitor and saw a detective I happened to know. He was right next to this girl here, and so I decided to ask him. I knew if I did, he wouldn't refuse. He could never refuse a request from me. And that was the man with the cane? Achi asked. His voice was low and hoarse. Yes, I was giving him directions while I followed you on the monitors. No? I mean, no. Dad, you need to let go of Hitomi now. There's no point to this. Achi took another step closer to his father. There is a point. If I kill this girl here and now, your sister can get the surgery she needs. But even Achi knew that things couldn't possibly work out that way. His father had grown so desperate to help Suzune that he'd lost all sense of judgment. Why, Achi? Why won't you help me? Don't you want to save Suzune? Daisuke made a pathetic sight. And yet his desperation to save his child was so palpable it was heartrending. Achi thought back to the time he'd laid his father out when sparring. Yeah. I mean, the call from the hospital could be fake, except for the fact that he also called... The hospital also called Achi. No matter how pathetic he may have looked, Achi always felt that sense of paternal love from him. You're not going to be able to talk him down, Stanley murmured. Achi shook his head. Stanley, lower your gun. Tears were welling up in his eyes. Please, lower your gun. Hearing the determination in Achi's voice, Stanley quietly complied. Achi stepped up to Daisuke, getting a firm grip on his father's slender shoulder. Dad, of course I want to help Suzune. Why are you trying to stop me? Dad, do you think this is what she'd want you to do? Daisuke's face fell. Suzune asked for this, Dad? Did she tell you to take someone else's heart so that she could live longer? Did she, Dad? Suddenly the fight seemed to ebb from Daisuke's body. The stun gun hung limply in his hands. If Suzune asked me to go and get someone's heart for her, I wouldn't object. I'd help her just like she wanted. I wouldn't let you bear these crimes by yourself. But that's not what this is it? Suzune would never ask us to do something like this, would she? By now, tears were streaming down Achi's cheeks. He knew that his father thought about Suzune more than he thought of anyone else, which is actually sad, because, you know, Achi's also his kid. He knew full well that she would never want this. Suzune's not like me. She's smart, she's kind, and she'd never be happy about taking someone else's heart. Even if it saved her life, I'm sure she would never accept that. She wouldn't be able to live with it, knowing something so horrible had happened to someone else for her sake. Isn't that the Suzune we know? His cheeks were smeared with tears now as well. Then, we're not going to be able to help her. The sound of father and son weeping echoed through the workroom. Parents do have their favorites, unfortunately. Maybe so, maybe we won't. But that's better than the misery and suffering she'd have to live with. Normal family, we can only hope no one knows who is who. Well, like, if you're lucky, and if you're really, really lucky, and it's a two-parent family, then you can end up in a case where it's not even just about being favorites, it's about just, like, one kid being closer with one parent, and the other kid being close with another parent. Or, like, if there's more kids, then, like, sort of leaning a direction, so it's just kind of fair, right? But life ain't always fair. I mean, maybe Achi had that. Maybe Achi was super close with his mom. I mean, he actually was, but, like, maybe he was, like, the closest with his mom. And then, you know, that got taken. Hey, I don't think anyone gets to live a perfect life. I don't think that's what life is. I don't think there's such a thing as perfect life anyways, but oh boy, do we all go through a whole lot of tragedies. Maybe so, maybe we won't, but that's better than the misery and suffering she'd have to live with. Daisuke slumped to his knees on the floor, collapsing like a crumbling mound of sand. Tomi, freed from his grip, stood motionless. There were tears in her eyes, too. You're such an idiot, Dad. Such a complete, utter idiot. Sobbing, Achi embraced his father. There was a sudden thud from near the door. Everyone turned to look. Maria had crumpled to the floor, and a newcomer had appeared. At some point, Kanan had silently entered the room, and now she cradled Maria in her arms. Standing in the doorway was a man Achi didn't recognize, his face pale. Oh! Now we get to unlock. Oh, also... Hold on. Did I see that right? The young man's desperate pleading that felt his father gave in. He released his hold and Tomi. Tension in the room was replaced. Yes, and no jump! Seeing father and son weeping as they spoke made Kano think back to his conversation with Tateno before the stakeout. What was it in people that drove them to do such horrible things? Sometimes it was a desire to save the ones they loved. Even such a heartfelt human emotion could drive someone to do something so horrible. Why? Why did people have to be like this? A sudden thud slapped Kano out of his musing. An instant later, Kanan hurried past him into the workroom. Maria had collapsed onto the floor, and now Kanan was beside her. In a panic, Kano rushed in the workroom as well. Stay back, Kanan shouted to the others as she tried to huddle around the fallen girl. Please don't be what I think this is. Had the virus gone symptomatic? 2 hours ago, Stanley had told Kano that Maria was infected, so that her symptoms wouldn't develop for another 4 hours. Shouldn't they have 2 more hours to go? Maria looked like she was dead, her eyes closed, her body motionless. Tomi tried to approach despite Kanan's warning. Maria, she cried. Maria, what's wrong? Kano held his arms wide to hold her back. Your sister's been infected with the Uwa virus. The Uwa virus? Tomi's face went pale. Hey, Kano said to Kanan, should you really be that close? If she's developed symptoms. But Kanan didn't move from Maria's side. She calmly rested her hand on the other girl's forehead. There's no fever, she said. There's no blood coming from her ears and no limbs swelling. It'll be alright, she hasn't gone symptomatic yet. In that case, why did she collapse? Tomi asked. Not sure yet. Whatever the case. If we don't get her to that antiviral, she's done for. Then we have to get her to the lab right away, Tomi said. She was trembling with anxiety. No, it's not an option. Thomas told us. You may already be aware, Mrs. Sawa. Without a password, we can't access the antiviral storage. But when I went there, my father and Mr. Tanaka... Moro Tanaka is dead. Murdered. What? She stared at him uncomprehendingly. No, that can't be true. He was a member of a crime syndicate. It's possible they killed him in order to silence him. So then, there's no way to save my sister. There's a hollow look in Tomo's eyes. No, I won't accept that. Why? Why can't we help her? And no one had an answer. Kano gritted his teeth and hung his head. Why did it have to come to this? He'd come this far, but there was nothing he could do, and he hated himself for it. Okay, saving here. I'll go to the laboratory. Yes. But first, I notice here that we have to go back to clicking on Tanaka again to actually get the proper ending, I guess. Okay. So now we have this again, and it's saved, and I think it will show the to be continued if I click on this. Yes, okay. So now we have the to be continued here. We have this unlocked. We have this unlocked. All right, we're in a good place. So, okay. I think I'm gonna call it because I feel like we're getting really close to the end, but not close enough that I could finish it today. And I really don't have any water with me right now, and my mouth has gotten really dry over the past hour. So I think we'll call it early again today. I know it's another early stream, but take 2-3 hours. Okay. So yeah, probably best to plus endings. Oh, that's fair. There's also endings. Still, I still think we're probably gonna call it here. Because, like, my energy levels are just not what they should be. Yeah, no, totally understand. But I'm so glad you were able to stop by and hang out. Like, honestly, maybe in some ways it's better if I do these shorter streams because it's easier for people to catch up in between streams, too. Because it's definitely easier to watch 1 hour of content than 2. Yeah, hopefully life gets a little less crazy for me too, and I'll have more energy. Have I slept better? Yes. So far, yes, I am definitely sleeping better. I'm still dealing with the dryness in the nose, and it's still like sensitive, but it is like, it's definitely a case where instead of getting better every day, it's getting better every week. And now I think we're at the point where it's getting better every other week. I'm noticing a bit of a difference. Like, it's definitely still sensitive sometimes, and I feel like we're gonna get to a point where once we get to like 3 months out, I think it'll be pretty solid, but there's definitely moments where like I can feel just strange sensations in the nose, like tightness or like maybe like mild swelling, like all the way through the middle, depending on weather or if it's been like way too long since I've had water. Which will probably happen soon, actually, now that I think about it. But I'm no longer like constantly spraying stuff up my nose. It's like actually like I can go sometimes a whole day without putting anything up there, which is crazy. Crazy. Sent to redo of Evangelion movies. Oh gosh, honestly, I tried watching the movies and it didn't make any sense. And I watched the series of Evangelion, which yes, I watched for the first time. Actually, I watched it while I was recovering. I literally had that as one of the things I was watching while recovering from my septoplasty, was specifically Evangelion. And the anime is like very interesting, but also still makes no sense to me. I had to watch like a lot of videos afterwards of people explaining what the heck I missed. Yeah. Oh. Anyways. Yeah, no, it's like I understand it's good and important, but there was just so much shenanigans. Yeah, Shinji was right a lot of times. Yeah, it was also just like the folly of man and stuff. Yeah, like it's a complicated story. I think what makes Evangelion good is the fact that you can have discussions about it and have different opinions about certain parts of it. I think that's really, really what it is. Because, like, every other part of it, like, there's a lot of part about it that's not good. There's a lot of really, really weird stuff, and I think, like, the last 2 episodes, the second to last episode, is just like, what is happening? Yeah, the dark soul of 90s. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, thanks again, everyone, for hanging out, and we'll see you again, yeah, next week. Let's double check. I'm pretty sure I don't have anything going on. Should be good. Next week, as normal, we will go along, and March is just flying by. So, see y'all later.